Damn, I got caught eating.
Hey, Dots Pretzels. They're that good. Hashtag sponsored content.
Bro,
Hashtag pay us.
these are the originals.
Don't show that ad. Don't show that bag. They'll never pay us if you show the bag.
That's fine. Ain't gonna lie, these ain't slap.
We started
Yeah,
off so well.
No, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to a special episode of. Is this a special? Yeah, it's a special episode.
Every episode's special.
Yeah. Welcome to a special episode of Walking 90. I'm your host as always, Yogi Bar. I don't know why I forgot the intro. Join us on the show this week, as of course, is Eb, who's getting ready to fly halfway across the world to cover the World Cup. How you doing, Eb?
Good. A little tired, but I'm slowly packing and getting ready for a wild 4 weeks.
Yeah, you gotta have fun. So let me ask you this: like, I know they say Australia has a lot of dangerous and like killer bugs and everything. Like, the amount of bug repellent you're gonna have to wear, are you gonna have like that ew smell to you? Like,
Oh God, no! I heard all the bugs are inland, so we're on the coast, so I'm
oh,
good. Hopefully.
okay, all right. So if you mysteriously die from like a tiger spider, we know why.
What is a tiger spider? You know what?
I just made that up. I'm assuming something real in Australia.
Oh, okay, that's fair.
I assume it is. My bad. Don't listen to that. Just skip over that part. Also joining us is Mr. Chip, who lovely idea was to do the show this week because I love Chip. How are you doing, sir?
Been better, been worse, but I think there's definitely something to talk about this week that is based purely on the Twitter likes, something that people are very interested in talking about.
It is. It is. I wonder how long we go before we actually address it.
I think we just do the normal show and then tease and then do like 5 minutes at the end after 2.5 hours and like a rant about like chicken wings at strip clubs versus chicken wings at chicken wing restaurants.
Yeah,
That's a very valid fight, though. We can have that conversation if you need to.
You also got to include the chicken wings at a wedding or at a baby shower because those are elite as well.
The baby shower ones are the absolute goat tier.
That is true. Yo, you know what? I low-key, Chip, you're white, so I can ask you this question. Like,
Guilty as charged.
But all right, so you recently also had a baby. So when y'all had a baby shower, did y'all have meatballs?
No.
For real? Like, all right, what did y'all serve at y'all baby shower?
So like, are you talking about like Italian meatballs? Like, are you talking about like meatballs and barbecue sauce? Are you talking about like?
Well, okay. When I say meatballs, what do you think about?
Yeah, it's just the regular meatballs. You get a toothpick, you take them out. Like,
what sauce would be it?
Normally, it's like a gravy.
Yeah, it's like grape jelly and like.
Oh yeah, it's like Swedish meatballs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. No, we did not do that. No.
Also, apparently there is a tiger spider.
Oh, for real? I literally just made that up on the spot.
Yeah, no. Gio lovingly sent it to all of us and I don't like it. Gio, you're the worst.
Yeah, have fun with that.
But baby shower, we did a charcuterie board, pretty big charcuterie board, spinach artichoke dip, a couple different types of bread, and I think we had bruschetta bites. That all sounds right.
Yeah, none of that happened at the black baby shower.
Too.
We're gonna have meatballs, chicken wings, greens, maybe some yams,
alcohol. Like a lot of it.
You gonna have a lot of alcohol.
Yeah,
like, we had daddy walking out of there drunk.
Yeah, we had it at my buddy's brewery, so there was definitely a lot of alcohol. But
yeah, did you have on a Brewberry outfit? The fact that Chip tilts his head means he does not know what Brewberry is. I'm gonna send it to you, Chip.
Okay. I know what Burberry is. I don't know what Brewberry is.
It's the hood version of it.
I was about to say, I know he's not doing boo-foo. Like,
no. You know what? We get Chip in that outfit with some all-white Air Forces and a gold chain.
Tell him nothing. Maybe I know that Pro Rail is saving the hood.
I don't.
That is the moment.
And that's How you
I don't,
bring a pro rel?
I don't know what I wore, but I'm assuming I wore a polo and khaki shorts with some boat shoes. I'm
Damn
going
it.
to go with that.
Damn
I'm
it, Chip.
95% certain that's what I wear. So that's what I wear like pretty much every day.
Yeah, we gotta get Chip. We're gonna take you to the hood and just like cash you out. Like give you some white Air Forces, some FUBU jeans, a
I'll
white tee.
Not
my
FUBU. Let's not. Show that man some respect.
All right, I was shut up because I've been going on for a minute. But Chip, I'm gonna toss it over to you, buddy, because you're taking lead tonight.
For sure. So, as a person who read the article from The Athletic,
Sorry.
so as people may or may not have heard, I think that's the reason why most of you are either listening to us live or tuning in after the fact. Big bombshell announcement from theathletic.com that there is a vote to consider pro rel and USL. So let's kind of just like from the top down kind of look at what it is. For those of you that somehow found us in your Apple podcast recommended and have never seen soccer before, let's just define what pro rel is. So pro rel is promotion and relegation. It's the thought that a certain number of teams from a lower division will go up every year, and a certain number of teams from the upper division go down every year. And this creates a pyramid, which is a shape that looks like a triangle. And so, like when we normally talk about, we talk about the soccer pyramid a lot in the U.S., but it isn't like actually a pyramid because no one goes up, no one goes down without like something happening. So currently in the U.S., the only way that you can go up is by spending a giant amount of U.S. currency to move up. So like, for instance, if Union Omaha wanted to move up from USL 1, which is the league we cover, to USL Championship or MLS, that would require Gary, the owner of Union Omaha, or a new group of owners to open up their checkbooks and sign a big fat check to go up.
Well, so we will also say it is cheaper to move up to the championship than it is to move up to MLS.
By like
MLS
an
is
order.
going to charge you 550 million plus.
Yeah, it's
So
like an
that's
order of magnitude. I think it's 20 million right now for USLC and 500 million for MLS. So it's expensive, which is something we'll get to later on in the episode. But what pro rel essentially would mean is that there's the ability to move up by sporting merit. So if you win whatever structure they decide on, you would go up a league. And if you are the worst team in the league, you go down. So this current plan excludes MLS. Obviously, they can't unilaterally decide or include MLS. So at the beginning, the plan is to have 3 leagues as part of this. USL Championship, USL 1, and a division in between them. Didn't mean to do it that way. And a division in between them. That will be a new division that's in between 1 and C. So in my opinion, what's probably going to happen is USLC is going to become that middle division, and then they're going to peel off the top half of USLC and make that USL Premier. They love this British nomenclature and everything else, and so I think you're going to end up with USL Premier, USL Championship, and USL League One, which match the current English Football League nomenclature, and then you'd have USL 2 as still as like the amateur league. And I think that's the biggest point of distinction is right now the plan is not to make USL 2 a pro league. There's no promotion or relegation as it stands out of USL 2 into USL 1. USL 1 is the bottom tier professional, the professional pyramid in USL. And so this new league, depending on how they do it, and again, this is all like weird mumbo jumbo US soccer crap. The new league would probably be what would be considered a Division 2 league. So we'd have 2 Division 2 leagues. We'd have whatever the top league is, whatever the middle league is. And again, probably USLC becomes the middle tier. And then USL 1 at the bottom of the professional period, along with NISA and MLS Next Pro. And so there's a couple big things from this article. The first one, much like the Super League announcement, whatever the top division ends up being called, they're going for Division One sanctioning. So Division One sanctioning is what MLS has currently. So with that comes a spot in the Champions League. It comes with much higher criteria for quality of stadium, quality of field, quality of players, everything else, including the Metro. And so I think it's a direct shot across the bow of MLS. And I think the biggest reason why they're doing that is because of things like San Diego. So USL as a whole is being attacked from the top and the bottom by MLS. At the top level, you have MLS, who's continually poached top USL markets. They've taken Cincinnati, they've taken Orlando, they've taken Nashville, and now they're taking San Diego. They're trying to take Sacramento. And so the top of the league continues to get poached. But before, they took FC Cincinnati from USL. They took Orlando City from USL. They took Nashville from USL. They're not taking teams anymore. They're putting their own teams into USL markets and running them out of town. That's what we saw in Charlotte. It's what we're seeing in San Diego. It's probably what we'll eventually see in markets like Phoenix and Tampa and the like. At the same time, they're also attacking the bottom of USL. So that's like what USL Huntsville is. That's what MLS Next Pro Cleveland is. It's them putting non-independent professional teams into markets that would traditionally be a USL 1 or USLC market. So USL is getting it from both sides. And so if you read the article in The Athletic, we'll post to it on Twitter. If you don't have a link, support journalism. But if not, I'm sure you can find a pirated copy somewhere on the internet, probably on Reddit. One anonymous owner said, we need to do something about the MLS problem. And if we don't address it head on by doing pro rel and building a pyramid, we're dead. And I think that is what makes it an interesting dynamic. Like 2-3 years ago, they talked about pro rel. And at the time, the conversation, it happened. They probably talked about the meeting. There's no vote, nothing binding. But I think now you have the League One teams that all want to move up. And you have the USL, top of the USLC pyramid that says we have to do something. Because if we do something, there is no MLS exit plan. They're just going to put a team in our city and we're screwed. So what do we do to protect our investment? What do we do to protect our pyramid? What do we do to protect our team? And what they came up with was this pro rel structure with these 3 different leagues. And I think it's an interesting thing. It's not really a thing that's been done in U.S. sports. It's obviously done pretty much everywhere in the world besides India, Australia, and Mexico did it for a while. Then they stopped. Now they're going back to it. So
I think Argentina too right now.
Maybe, but yeah, for the most part, the U.S. not having any sort of pro rel structure is the anomaly in the sport worldwide, but it is not an anomaly for U.S. sports. So I think that is a great jumping off point. Now that we have a very basic conversation. So for everyone listening, if you're doing it live, please drop your questions in the comments, drop them on Twitter, drop them wherever you are, and we will try to address them as they come across, because I think this is certainly an issue that we're all interested in. And we're going to go pros, cons, what we think is going to happen, and then what we kind of hope the system looks like if it happens, as well as if we think it even gets done. So let's start with pros. Ebony, do you want to talk about maybe some of the pros you could see as a fan of NCFC for going back to pro or going to pro rel?
I mean, I feel like the pro is the soccer gets better. Because there's no way you buy into a league and then you lose it all, right? That's essentially the problem with why pro rel wouldn't happen with MLS, is because owners are paying $325 million, $500 million, losing ownership and losing stake in their ownerships and all of that because a player comes for 2 years and all of a sudden gets the owner percentage of Adidas and MLS and Apple TV, right? They're not going to want to give that up. It just makes the rest of the soccer get better. So now they have to really dig deep to try to figure out how they compete with that, because they always had the upper hand at that part. The talent was going to go there because there was more money and the play was better. Now you're raising the stakes in these lower tiers in that pyramid, and it makes it I think better. That's one pro for me.
So I'm sitting here thinking, I'm trying to not say I'm struggling with the question, but
Where do you
I think,
start?
yeah, I think it depends on what club you're talking about. Like, how does pro rel benefit each club? Like for instance, I talk about my home team, Richmond, right? Like being being promoted. Honestly, it would get some of the casual fans in the city be more aware of the sport. Like, you're going up a level. That's more story coverage. News sites will cover it more. TV revenue will probably increase a little bit. Because outside of DC, like in between DC and Charlotte, like we're the only other professional club. You know what I'm saying? So it's like people already are kind of dismissive of League One teams just because they view it as minor, or they think about it like minor league baseball or like the G League. Like it's minor league, it's guys developing. Unless you're in the city, you're probably not really going to support it. So I'm thinking about for that context, but then also like I don't know, like everyone loves the success story. Like this little local team that then built their way up through the ranks and won the type title. Stuff like that. So
Mhm.
there's benefits to it.
So then,
Yeah.
would you consider it being a pro or a con that you're now the only team between DC and Charlotte if Pro Rel comes in?
Um, well, it depends on who else is coming in from Virginia into the pyramid. Um, because right now, I think the only teams in USL League One is Lionsbridge, Northern Virginia, and I think Virginia Marauders and Virginia Beach United. So it depends on like out of those four teams, who else is joining us in the pyramid. I've always said I think there should be more teams in Virginia. Like the like the fact that the Richmond Kickers are the only one who are professional level is insane to me. But I think it would be a benefit. Like I think like obviously growing the game is always going to be a benefit in my book. It just also comes down to like what do you get from being promoted? I mean, obviously, if you get promoted, you get the added benefit of more money in your coffers, more fans attendance, which means more money coming in. So it's a benefit to it. We also got a question. Do you want me to go ahead and throw it in?
Yeah, we can do that one right now. I just pulled up their. They change so often. I want to make sure I know who's even in.
All right. How many teams do you think will need to be on each tier, and do you think you'll see more successful NISA/2 clubs try to get into League One if Pro Rel happens?
So USL2 is yes. We already are seeing it. It's already something that's going to happen. I mean, Ballard FC, Little Rock Rangers, PDX, Fort Wayne FC, Wichita FC. These are all teams that are already considering the move to USL1. So it's going to happen for League Two. And I think for them, it's Vermont. It's another good one, Geo. If you're successful at the League Two level, if you're successful at the League Two level, you can probably safely assume that there is somebody in your city or someone from the league office that is working on bringing a pro team to your city. It just makes sense. Like when you have 5,000 people showing up in Little Rock, there's somebody at the league office on the phone calling people from Little Rock and saying, hey, you interested in being an owner in League One? I think NISA's the hard one. I think with NISA, Chattanooga right now is probably the best team that like the team you'd want is Chattanooga. But unfortunately, right now, as far as we're aware at the time of press, there are issues with bringing them into the league just because of the territory rights of Red Wolves, which personally, I think it's chicken shit that you allow that still if you have a pyramid. Let them into the league. Who cares? Like, you'll figure it out. And honestly, like, let the strongest team win. That's kind of my thought. But they're too big of a team to let just like flounder in NISA. And if you don't do something, they're going to go to MLS next pro.
I mean,
But
also that's another pro as well. My fault, Chip. I didn't mean to cut you off, but like also
oh,
that's
you're
another
good.
pro. Like
I was rambling.
new league rivalries. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Richmond versus Fort Madison, right?
Mhm.
But let's be real. Like, not many away fans are at those games,
Mhm.
right? But if you told me that, like, God forbid, Chattanooga Royal Bulls won the league, and they're getting promoted into the same league with Chattanooga FC, right? Do you understand? Like, do you understand how many people from outside of Chattanooga is going to come to that game just to see it?
Right.
Like, it's going to be on a whole nother. Like, that's a pro. Just new rivalries, new teams playing each other. You know, new rivalries form, things like that. Like, it would be crazy. But my
Yeah.
fault. Go.
No, you're good. But besides that, I think from NISA, the only other teams you'd want were the Bobcats in Maryland, and then I have no idea how Savannah Clovers is doing, but maybe Savannah Clovers just. But even then, do you have issues because of Tormenta and their territory rights or what's going on there? But I mean, from NISA, probably not much. Like, there's a lot of chaff in NISA. Like, you don't want most of the teams that they're not stable. They're propped up of the league. To answer Zach answered, do we need to let go of territory rights? Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
Especially if a team's coming into the league at League One and there's a team in like Championship or Premier, yes. You know, especially because they're probably not going to play in the same stadium. Like, one team can be out in the burbs, one team can be out in the city. You know, I don't know what Omaha's territory rights are, but they include like Lincoln. Like, yeah, Lincoln should have their own team. That's 100%. But to be successful, you need enough to have a round robin. I think that's first and foremost. I think, well, the math's probably going to end up working. The first year is going to be 16, 16, 16. I think with all the expansion teams that are rumored to be around by 2026, which is probably when you target it, there's going to be 32 teams in Championship and 16 teams in League One. So that gives you a 16, 16, 16. You take the top half of Championship, make them Premier. The rest of the 16 stay, and then, you know, maybe that first year, and then after that, 2027, you do Pro Rel and you go from there. But I think the other big thing is talking about League One's going to be bottom of the pyramid. That was in the article.
Yeah.
So there'll be another league in between. But I think personally the other big pro is that it's going to really increase investment. So we talked to a variety of sources around the league. Some were front office people, some people were technical staff, some people were broadcasters, and we kind of got a gauge for what people were thinking. And one of the big things that surprised me from a lot of the front office people in both USL League One and USL Championship was there are League One teams currently outspending USL Championship teams, both on rosters and on front office expenditures. If you want some guesses, look at what USL 1 teams are outdrawing USLC teams. You know, that's probably a good barometer of who's outspending who. So, you know, and I think it's not like MLS where there's this incentive to like sit on a team to sell it in 10 years because then the value just increases. I just think there's some value to it, but I think, you know, you have teams in USL 1 with ownership groups that are, you know, much more ambitious than some of their USLC counterparts. And I think, you know, we should reward that. We should reward people investing in their teams and everything else. And at the same time, you know, if I'm at the bottom of the pile of USLC, I'm probably thinking, oh crap, I better throw in a couple extra $1,000 this year to get my team above the line so I don't go down. Yeah. And if you're in USL 1, all of a sudden it's like, well, right now, if I win, what do I get? I sell some extra t-shirts with the star above my crest. I get probably buy a trophy from the league to display and have at a couple fan events. Like, what's like the value of it? Like, your team's going to get rated. You're going to lose all your best players. So it's kind of like, well, now if I win, I go up. I can play in a higher league. I can get more sponsorship money from being in a higher league. I can have better play. I can keep my players. It's a win-win. And I think ultimately what's going to happen there is you're going to see an increased investment in the league across because people don't want to go down and people want to go up. And so you're going to have this high tides raise all boats. I think that's the big thing. And the biggest winner there is going to be us as fans with better quality soccer and then local soccer talent, because you're going to have a lot more incentive for teams to have academies to try to find these hidden gems and get them on their books. And it's going to increase depth. It's going to increase the player pool. I think if we're going from pros, it's going to increase the quality of play because all of a sudden everyone has an incentive to play better, because for both leagues there is no prize money for winning. If you win, you get to sell some stuff with a star above your crest. That's it.
Yeah. I guess now we get to the fun part of what are some of the cons.
Yeah, the pros are easy. I think we all like the pros.
Everybody likes the pros. It's the cons that suck about it.
Well, I'll go first on this one. So I'm not going to put him on blast, but he's a popular Twitter personality that we all know and love. But he made the comment of most American fans, even if they like European soccer, have never been on the side of a losing relegation battle, and it's not fun. And I think his hypothesis essentially is that teams are going to fold. Do you think we're going to see an increase in number of teams folding after relegation? Panel and audience?
No. If they were all, if they were gonna fold after a losing season, they would have done that 3 seasons ago when they lost the league.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I think as long as they are still able to tap into a community and keep those fans there, they'll be fine.
Yeah.
Going down sucks, but they're also, if you're not capturing the Wrexham feel of a game, even when they were a game away from winning and going up and then they lost, and so you still watch the show. So it's not like you don't know that heartbreak.
Yeah.
You're still experiencing that, whether it be far away or in your hometown. So I think the people will be fine. I
Mm-hmm.
think the clubs will be fine. It's just a matter of using that moment to create another Wrexham or another Richmond AFC or Ted Lasso, whatever you want to fucking call it today. Um, because there's going to be another show out. There's going to be another something that taps into that feel good story that people are looking for that can keep your team around. So,
So I'm going to ask a two-part question. So again, for some people who maybe don't follow USL League One, have followed some of lacrosse because we're talking about pro rel. Yogi is a fan of Richmond. Ebony is a fan of NCFC. Yogi's a fan of not Ted Lasso Richmond, like actual Richmond, like a real, actual living, breathing football club,
Yeah,
not like
a real
Apple
team.
TV thing. So
Real boy team, huh?
for the people that maybe don't know, both Yogi and Ebony's team self-relegated from USL Championship down to League One.
Yeah.
So here's the two-part question. Part one, the year after you relegated, if you had gone around your team's stadium, what percentage of people do you think would even know that you were down a league?
So speaking for Richmond, I say 60%.
60%?
Yeah, dude. Because the year before, there was already rumblings about, oh, we're going down. Like we're going down. So we knew June there was like failings, and then I remember July the report came out that USL was making League One for teams that didn't want to invest as much because we were already talking about getting new ownership.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I also remember because that year we were horrible on the field. Like we couldn't invest in how we could because before prior to that point, Richmond was, and I'm gonna tell you, like Richmond was a dominant force in USL. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we brought in amazing players, but when the MLS got more popular and started spending more money, it kind of priced out some of the lower tier MLS players. So they come to the championship because they knew they could get more, and Richmond can't compete. Like we couldn't spend because all our money was coming from the youth club, right? So guys was just like, well, I'm not gonna be a starter in Richmond. Like I'm gonna go to FC Cincinnati, be a bench player, and get paid double. Like, and you can't argue that. Like, yo, go give me your money. So the team just wasn't good. So we already knew we were going down. I think a lot of people already had the feeling, and some people just checked out by the end of that season. I think the first year in USL League One, like a lot of people knew. There were still some people that kind of just like, is Pittsburgh coming? Are we playing, such and such? Like, no, this is a brand new league, things like that. But I think that went away very quickly. Yeah. What about you, Ab?
um, I would say my percentage would be probably around the same. Um, maybe even higher, just because once we self relegated after like the big MLS thing and losing that bid and all that, the only people in the stadium were the ones that knew we were in League One and were like, yeah, I still want to come
Same
see
here.
them anyway.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
I mean, also like for us, like our attendance was about the same. Like it didn't drop or go up any. We were averaging roughly. Shoot, I'm trying to think back to 2019. I say less than 2.5 a game. Like the crowds were thin. Even that last season of the championship and that first season in 2019. Now, obviously,
Well,
they're not.
sit on that for a second.
Okay,
Sit on
okay.
that for part two. Yeah.
My fault.
So I guess part two of the question
Yeah.
is your team better off after relegating, or would you have been better off staying in the championship?
Oh, obviously, we're 100% better being relegated.
What's your average attendance now for Richmond games?
Shoot, 5,000.
How'd you guys do last year?
I think we were like upper threes
on the table. How'd you do in the
table?
table?
The table. Won the regular season. Let's not talk about the playoffs.
And how are you guys doing this year versus how you were doing your last year in C?
I mean, very much different. Like, we were averaging like 5,000-6,000 in C. I think we're averaging about 2,000 now, if on a good day. So not bad. Still better than some averages and like even some of the championship teams. Which is wild to think that 2,000 it beats some USLC teams. But it could be better. It is getting better as the season goes on and we keep winning, which is what people were looking for really, is wins. Because we kind of went about it the wrong way when we immediately dropped and then played 10 out of 11 kids and kept getting smacked 3-0, 4-0 every week. So it is a lot better now.
I think that's always the interesting thing. So I think, and it is always interesting towards the end of the year because we always have the conversations. It seems like every year besides this year, we've had a championship team move down from USLC to USL1. And this year, our target was Charleston. And their fans acted like that was the most insulting thing in the world, like it was the death sentence and yada, yada, yada. And it's like, I don't know, man. We have a lot of fun down here. It's a fun league. It's still good football. And I think that's the interesting thing is I think, again, per our friend who if you follow soccer or lower league stuff, you probably saw his tweet, but no point in putting him on blast. I think if a team dropped from MLS to USLC, there'd be a lot of heartburn. But dropping from USLC to USL1 or from USLC to this like parachute league that they're going to make, I can't imagine the impact is going to be that great. And I think ultimately that's the point is how do we build up these teams enough so that we get closer and closer and closer to what MLS is providing so that ultimately we could conceivably have an open pyramid. Because I think for sure, like if the Rapids drop from MLS to USL Championship, like, yeah, things would not be good.
That's why I think that's a con of these two leagues fighting for the same Division 1, because you're never going to get full buy-in from MLS. And
my fault.
No, you're good. It's just it doesn't feel like it's going to be any fun, right? Because you're not like I don't see any of these teams, because what's going to happen is you're going to get to the top pyramid, you're going to get to the top flight of USL, and you're going to be like, okay, I won. Next is obviously MLS, and MLS is just going to go, no. So then it's like, so what did I climb all the way to the top for?
Well, I think too, it's the fans, our fan, and it's the same conversation we have with the Super League, right? So Super League is a Division 1 league per USSF standards. If I, a consumer, am looking at NWSL versus USSF, am I going to view them the same, or am I going to say, well, that one's the higher one and that one's the lower one? And I think that's the big thing is if there's an obvious like disparity, whether it's in the quality of the stadium or quality of play or quality of players or whatever else, I think that's where it doesn't matter if you're, Division 1 outside of the spot in the CONCACAF Champions League. It's like, well, this is the better league. This is the worst league. And honestly, let's be honest, what's going to happen is as soon as if they could meet the standards for League One or for Division 1 sanctioning, they're just going to bump up the bar so they don't qualify.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the other thing too is like you're asking MLS teams to drop their roster rules or USL championships to change to conform to TAM, GAM, and all this other stuff, right?
Well, that's MLS rules. That's all the MLS welcome. I mean, I think the big things are like stadium quality,
Yeah.
metro size, and then it's like you have to have a city in 3 of the 4 time zones.
Yeah.
And so the big one is like the city size and the stadium thing, which honestly they'll just jack up the stadium requirements, right?
Yeah.
Because like right now OC probably ends up on the right side, but OC plays in a 5,000 person stadium. It's like, well, no teams can play under a 5,000 person stadium, and then it's like, well, there you go, no Division One for you. And I think that's ultimately the thing with soccer is it's a bunch of cronyism, and right, wrong, or otherwise. I think a lot of the casual fans maybe don't realize like how much cronyism there is with it. But I think ultimately it doesn't really matter. The D1 sanctioning, even if you got a CONCACAF spot, like cool. But the MLS fans don't even care about that right now.
Yeah.
So, question from Twitter.
Mhm.
Which specific teams are more prepared to handle Pro Rel, and which specific clubs would you be worried about if Pro Rel started next season?
In League One?
I'm assuming League One.
Oh God. All right. So if teams were getting promoted, I would be concerned for Richmond just because of budget. Like they're not one of the highest spenders in the league. You
You don't
know,
see that. You don't see them preparing for that by opening up the checkbook a little bit more.
I don't think they can. Like you're talking about a club that 5 years ago was very close to closing their doors, right? And this team is just now getting out of the black. I think opening it up. I think they're very concerned about opening up the champion. I mean, even go back and look at our signings this past month, right? They've been academy, and a USL League One journeyman, right? It hasn't been like game changers, guys that are like it hasn't been like a Rafa Mintigan or a Danny Toya, guys like that, you know. I think One Knox might struggle just because they're new, and I think anytime you like make that quick jump, it can kind of like we've seen it in the Premier League where a team like Blackpool came up, spent a year in the Premier League, got smacked around, and then dropped all the way down to the bottom of the table just because they overspent. Stuff like that can happen.
You really
Um,
think I'm actually okay with One Knox because they took their time coming into League One. I think Lexington and
Well, the obvious answer is Fuego, right?
right, but
Fuego,
oh, I mean,
Fuego couldn't
that's
afford
why
a
I didn't
TV
include them because I was
broadcast.
like, wait, was getting
Yeah.
promoted.
Well,
But
even
no, I'm just saying,
even
like,
like
I
a
just using One
NoCo.
Knox as an example.
Yeah, even like a NoCo, I think just because their attendance numbers are down, I don't know where their revenue's coming from. Here's where
Does
Yogi says
anyone
drug
know?
money. I was like, here's where Yogi says drug money,
All right.
um,
I
but
haven't been proven wrong yet.
but I think if you look at the teams with good like front office fundamentals, right? So that's your Madisons, that's your Richmonds, that's your Omahas, that's your Greenvilles once they have a stadium. Tormenta if they can get attendance up, but it's like I think that's who you want to look at, like Omaha, Madison, Richmond, Greenville are probably like the 4 that if they had to go and pay championship money or be in championship for a year, those would be the ones that at least the front office part is fine and they could figure it out.
Yeah.
I mean NCFC is already doing that. They're paying for the players.
Yeah,
Um,
Yeah, I think that's the way you got. You got to look at the teams that are willing to shell out that money
yeah.
for the top. Like, you got to look at those teams that are shelling out that money already for guys that should be in the championship.
I
Like,
forget
look,
Richmond's kind of cheap.
yeah, we are. Like, I'm not. That's why I didn't include Richmond in the teams that were
Yeah.
probably doing the championship. Like, we don't bring in guys that are already coming for the championship. Outside of this year, with Belmar, that's probably it. Like,
Mhm.
a lot of our signings come from development academies and people you never heard of. But like NCFC went out this year, and on top of having Olex, McLaughlin, when they got Robin Michigan, when they got a bunch of guys from Chattanooga. Oddly enough, I know people gonna hate it. Chattanooga Rebels is probably a team that will go up to championship and be like, all right, we just gonna open up the checkbook and just run this. Like,
Mhm.
I
Well,
mean, it
especially
doesn't
if
show this year.
CFC's in the
They're a very good developing team.
yeah.
They develop well. It doesn't show this year.
yeah,
Well,
Like,
especially if CFC comes into the league.
oh, that'd be great.
It's gonna
Yeah.
be who's the king of Chattanooga?
Right.
No one is the real answer.
Yeah. But yeah, like NoCo, NCFC, Chattanooga,
That was me.
Madison. I think will be. I think those are your top four right now. That
Yeah.
I would say would do well. I think Greenville, Richmond are very similar. Like I'm just thinking like of the signings these teams have made, and Greenville are not signing guys at the top, and guys that are in the championship coming down to USL League One. Like they're signing guys,
They
college
did when they
guys.
started.
Yeah,
Like they came in as a USL championship team playing in League One. I think so. Jason Weintraub from Twitter.
Oh, man.
Also, we are blowing up on Twitter all of a sudden. But Jason Weintraub kind of had a I'm murdering that. I apologize. He essentially said, once a top league team relegates, there's a real concern if they'll ever promote. Owners here not shilling out money for players while ticket merchant game day revenue is dropping in the lower division. A lot of teams are all bark and wouldn't support the same level if they drop. And again,
I'm here to tell you that my team's self-relegated and I'm still showing up at that stadium.
Yeah. And I think, again, it's the level of play between – and I think what saves this current version of this is USLC and USL1 are already pretty damn close. I think in USLC, what really skews the numbers is like the Louisvilles, the Tampas, the Phoenixes, the New Mexicos of the world, who are operating like they want to go to MLS. They want to have these giant killer teams. There's a lot of like chaff in USLC, like teams that if they were in USL 1, they wouldn't even be above the playoff line right now. And I think that's the big thing. It's like the gap between the two is very small. And I don't know. And I think, maybe you have some decrease in revenue and stuff, maybe some decrease in sponsorship. But overall, I think hey, look who it is. So, Kyle, we're talking about Wrexham right now. So Wrexham,
Why?
Wrexham is giving us ProRel.
I'm leaving. Fuck this.
No, that's a joke.
I'm not doing this.
Again, for those of you who mysteriously found us, Kyle is an avid Wrexham hater.
I don't even hate them.
You hate the discourse around Wrexham. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But I think like the level's close in between the USLC teams and the USL1 teams, especially if you have like a buffer zone in the middle. So it's not like, NoCo's going to go up and get their shit pushed in by Louisville next year. They're going to play Loudoun. They're going to play, whoever else is out there, El Paso and stuff like that. So it's not going to be a complete bloodbath if they move up.
All right. So from Ricardo on Twitter, keeping current rosters and pyramid structure, which USL League One team, if relegated to League Two, would fold, which can't happen because League Two is not going to be a part of it. But if it could, who would and why? And who from the championship, if relegated, would struggle in League One, and who from League One, if promoted, would have a good first season in championship.
I think if you're in the bottom quarter of the table in USLC, you would be in for a very nasty surprise in League One.
Hi, Hartford. Welcome to hell.
Well, right.
I was going to say Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Las Vegas wouldn't care.
Omaha's not even a playoff team right now, and El Paso didn't belong on that field when we played them in the Open Cup.
But the thing is, El Paso's now third in USL championship in the West, which is hilarious.
Yeah, I would say Vegas or Rio Grande would be the two, like bottom half.
I don't think Rio Grande will come. So if I'm doing this, I'm thinking the bottom two teams in East Division probably drop, and the top four from League One goes up. So right now, the bottom four, you look at Las Vegas, Hartford, Miami,
and Detroit.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
But the top four in League One would be NoCo, Madison, NCFC, and Charlotte. So while USL League One would be losing both the Carolinas, You get
You're gonna
Detroit.
get Detroit.
But no. Like honestly, like think about it. Like you get Detroit, you get Miami, you also get uh, yeah, you get two big markets for the case of that. Like that's not. Is that a? Would you say that's a fair trade?
Sure. I mean, if that happens, Kyle hopes Madison intentionally just like bungles the rest of the season so they can both sell El Toxico jerseys when Detroit and Madison play. So the most toxic
Positivity
fan
versus
bases.
negativity FC. Who wins?
El
all lose.
In this
Toxico.
situation, it works out that Madison goes up, and it would be just avoid Detroit with as much effort as possible. I just don't need
Over under them barbecuing a flamingo and making that the tifo.
I just need to see great value somewhere on a tifo for Madison.
I will have a great value Millwall banner ready to go.
So Detroit's going to come back and have a great value Venetia for Madison.
Oh my God. All right, we gotta focus. My fault. But yeah, like if you do that now, I mean that's probably what will happen. Like two teams in the East. I mean, if you take two teams for the East, two teams for the West. So
that's
it wouldn't
different.
be-
We didn't.
Yeah,
do
it
that.
wouldn't be Detroit. I would just say like the bottom one.
Yeah,
But if you do the-
hypothetically.
yeah, if you do the bottom.
Where are you
two,
getting the 4 teams
top-
from? Why would it be 4?
This is just hypothetical.
Well, the reason why I was saying 4 is just because, like,
Because
those
it's
are
all
probably-
made up and it's not going to happen. So we
Yeah,
get to put our own numbers.
True. I would have said like bottom of the West, bottom of the East, and then the top 2 in USL 1. But
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
So,
Honestly, okay, if
let's-
you go about it that way, then you got Hartford and
let's-
Las Vegas.
Let's get to this. So let's just summarize pros and cons. So pros, essentially, it'll probably have an increased investment, especially at the bottom of USLC and the top of USL 1. We have interest in the league. We have interest in teams buying into USL 1 because right now everyone's going to USLC and no one wants to go to USL 1. We have one team joining next year. Everyone's, and even Northwest Arkansas is going to USLC, which is crazy, considering there's like 80,000 people in Rogers, Arkansas.
Over under on them doing pig suey during the game.
100%.
That's so stupid. Oh God.
It's so dumb. I'm surprised we haven't had a Go Big Red chant at a Union Omaha game.
it's probably for the best.
Yeah.
But
I mean, considering Nebraska football sucks. I
yeah,
don't think I want to do that.
yeah, not a UNL fan. So I think essentially like the cons is potential financial instability, which again, I think everyone frames it from an MLS standpoint of, well, yeah, like if you're an MLS and you drop to USL championship, like, yeah, there's going to be some issues, but that's not what's happening. You're dropping from USL championship into the middle of USL championship. It's the same league you already play in. Just the teams at the top are going to want to spend even more to not go down, and the teams in the middle are going to want to spend more to not go down to League One, and teams in League One are going to want to spend more to not be in League One anymore and go up. And then, of course, always there's the front office instability, layoffs, and everything else when you go down. But even then, like, Yogi, did your teams really lay anybody off or go down stuff-wise, you know?
So actually, yes, they did. When we went down, a few people got laid off because ownership was coming in, so they were changing a bunch of stuff. Because once again, for those who don't know, Richmond Kickers, the pro team, used to be owned by the youth club. So the youth club was paying for everything, paying for players and all that stuff. Yeah, it was because that's how it was set up in the 90s.
Oh.
So it just kept the same way. And plus, Richmond had like one of the biggest academies in the city. So like, I mean, that's what it was back then, you know, because you didn't have investors dumping in money like you did now. So that was like smart. That's why, honestly, part of the reason why we stayed around for 30 plus years. But with 22 Holdings coming in, who is owned partially by
Take them out.
Rob Ukrop.
Okay.
I didn't know if you did.
The investment changed, so they kind of had to limit a lot of the stuff that they're doing in terms of front office. And the front office stuff got a little bit smaller. I know, like Nate, he just joined, but I remember him telling me like how they had to like he's doing the job of like 3 people, and like some front offices in League One, like he'll be in rooms and it's like he's doing the job of like 3 people in there, things like that. So yeah, people will lose jobs when you go down.
Mhm.
I'm still not over the fact that the youth team owned. Well, okay.
I mean, okay, so the reason why, like I said, like because when the club was set up, like you didn't have investors spending stupid amount of like you had some investors obviously spend a stupid amount of money, but like Richmond set it up so like the youth club and the fees and whatnot paid for the pro team. So like the pro players, like partially of it was like you play for the club, but you also coach for the youth club. So like the coaches were the players. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it worked. So
Yeah.
that's how it got made.
Here's one aspect that I've been thinking of, and I mentioned it on my Twitter thread, is the potential pro could be players sign longer term contracts instead of doing the 1 year or the 1 year with a team option or one. So, there could be a player that signs a 2 or 3 year deal so that they can be a part of a core. Because like Yogi, you and I were talking last week about Fuego, like you take Cerritos and like you build a core around it. You give him like a 3 year contract, try and build a core around him. You can do stuff like that if you have that option of, okay, you can get promoted, we can move up a tier, or you have this potential which could be a pro. And also if you can put in relegation clause where it's like if you get relegated you can leave for however much, and that they release, teams don't just lose players, and they can give longer term contracts, which then more transfers can happen, which can bring more money throughout the league to the club, to players and stuff like that.
See, I think the opposite will happen. I think with the CBA, I think you're already getting some teams like we're seeing it now in USL League One. Like some players already have multi-year deals, right? I think you'll start seeing more like relegation, and I also think you probably will see like promotion clauses. Like I think you'll see the changes of that in contracts. Whereas like if we get promoted, if such and such want to come in and buy you, we'll sell you for this price. If we get relegated, then like everyone's contract, like I think who did it in England? Norwich. Like I remember the story about them. Like they already had it written out in players' contracts where it was like, all right, if we get relegated, everyone knows their contract is getting decreased by 20%. You know, things like that. So I think you'll start seeing more of that in clauses. And I mean, honestly, let me ask you guys this: like, do you think Pro Rail changes the CBA at all?
Yeah.
Not unless there's a TV deal that brings in more money.
Okay.
It's also a really good question. Do we lose the playoffs and just do single table, or do playoffs and promote all the semifinalists?
I got a great idea. So
I
I
do.
also have an idea.
Let's sit on this one. Let's sit on this one for a bit.
Oh,
Let's sit on this. So let's transition into part three. Part three, and we'll go around the horn. Do we think this vote? And again, this is a non-binding vote. This is the ownership of the teams voting on whether or not to have a discussion about pro rel. So even if they vote yes, it doesn't mean shit's going to happen. But do we think that we get a yes vote? So we'll start with you, Yogi. Yes or no, and then we'll go around yes or no, and then we'll discuss yes
all
or
right,
no.
hold on, wait. Say the question one more time. I just want to make sure I heard it right.
So with Gio, we're getting to your question in a second. So without giving commentary, do you think the proposal to advance with conversations about pro rel advances or doesn't advance at the summer conference?
Oh, it advances.
Advances. Okay. Ab.
It advances.
Okay. Kyle.
It narrowly advances.
Okay. So do I have to be the contrarian just so we have something to discuss? I also think it advances.
No, I mean you can still. This is still a good discussion. Why I think it advances is probably different for everyone, though.
Mm-hmm. What I think the big difference now is, as we alluded earlier, is the teams at the top half of USLC, they need something. Before they didn't need anything. Now they need something because it's, MLS is coming for you. MLS is coming for your markets. So I think the teams that are probably reluctant to do it are the Loudons, the Rio Grandes, the Las Vegas Lights, those teams of the world. And I think every single USL1 ownership group is going to vote for it. every single one.
My reasoning of why it will be narrow is I think there's going to be more teams that are just not going to want to mess with the stat squad. It's not necessarily going to be bottom half teams of championship or stuff like that. It might be USL League One teams as well, because then it might then this sounds negative, but there's probably going to be some USL League One teams that are going to have to feel like, okay, now we have to like spend more to try and compete. And maybe that's not their first option. Maybe that's not something they want to do. So now it's kind of like they have to, unless they fold. So it's either fold or force themselves to spend to compete. So I can see that being a little bit more of a hindrance for some clubs, both in Championship and USL League One, because they are fine with skating by with doing the bare minimum. And now if you have this, if you have the consequence of pro rel, I can see some teams reluctantly saying no. I still think it passes, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than you would think.
So
people are cheap at the end of the day. People are still going to be cheap.
Honestly, that's honestly why I think it passes, is because all people aren't reading the fine print. So they're just going to ride this high of pro rel coming to USL League One or pro rel coming to the USL Pyramids, and they don't actually make a move for like the next 5 years because they don't have to. All they have to do is just talk about how they passed the amendment to say that there's a bill on the way because something, and never actually have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
yeah, and that would be my big thing is, you can pass it to stay in the press cycle. You can pass it for the press. You can pass it to, get teams to sign up for League One, whatever. But until it happens, like, I'm kind of the opinion that until it, like, we're in a season and a team goes up and a team goes down, it's not real. That's kind of where I
am. Let's see. I mean, I think it passes just because it's not really much stopping them from not passing it. Like, I think it's just a thing that gets passed. Like, I don't think they mention this or let it quote unquote leak to like Tom Bogart and Jeff Ruder if they weren't already thinking, okay, it's going to pass. Let's go ahead and see what people think about it. And they already know people are interested in it. So I think as the thing passes, it gets eyes on them, and like you said, Kyle, they can take their time, kind of figure out. Which me personally, I don't mind them doing. Like, I'd rather you take your time figuring this out than just hastily doing it and it crashes the entire system. Like, pass the vote so you can explore it, because, and we'll talk about it later, but I think we are have a version of pro rel. Is that the pro rel everyone thinks, but I think there's a way how you implement that into this next phase of it.
Well, I think that's the biggest thing is you can't. I know they're saying like run it out in 2024. That's just not realistic.
Yeah, no.
I'd say 2027.
I don't think that. I think the earliest I would want to see it is 2030. If that, like,
yeah, I think 2026 is when you separate USLC into two different divisions, and 2027 you start moving whatever up and down you decide to do.
Yeah. All right.
So now that we've talked what we think is going to happen, what do we hope happens? Like, what do you think pro rel, at least to start with, should look like between USL 1, USL League to be determined, and USLC?
So wait, is this where we start talking about our fantasy, like how pro rel works? Oh, bet. All right. So Cal, Eb, are y'all ready? Like, if you're not, I can go first. If so, I'll go last.
I mean,
go for it.
How crazy are you going to get? So maybe we should say
I'm not going to get crazy. I'm not. I'm actually very sane about this, and trust me, I have thought this out. I've smoked the blunt, not today's show, but I've smoked the blunt and like drawn this out and like thought about it since. So I got to prepare. So hear me out. Okay. So first of all, to answer Gio question, do I think they get rid of playoffs? No, we're America. You're keeping playoffs regardless. Like, playoffs are going
to Eagle.
But I think we get a specialized version in America known as financial promotion relegation. You ask what that means. So financial promotion relegation works like this, right? 4 teams from USL League One go up to USL Championship, right? They replace 4 teams there. Same thing happens with the sub team. But if a team that is promoted financially cannot compete, right, in the next league, they have the right of first refusal. Okay, so they can say, "Hey, we won the league or we got promoted, but we know financially we can't compete, we can't improve the stadium in time, we can't do this, we can't do that, whatever." Right? They get right of first refusal. A team that is relegated can say, "Hey, we'll pay you a quarter of what your promotion fee was." Right? So you know how teams get promoted, they get a fee, like a whatever called like a package, right? They pay a quarter of that to stay up, but you can only use that one time. So, quote, like use Hartford, right? Hartford gets relegated. Forward Madison replaces them, right? Forward Madison gets the first right of refusal. Forward Madison is like, "Hey, we're not financially ready to go up." Hartford is like, "All right, cool. We'll pay you $500,000, right, for your spot in USL Championship." Forward Madison takes it. The next year, if Hartford gets relegated again, they can't pay another USL team to stay in the league. They have to go down.
So it's kind of like what Mexico does.
Yeah, a modified Mexico. Yeah, in my scenario, I'm slightly different, but I have that whole. You have an agreed upon fee, but I think you almost say like a blind bidding where, in this scenario, Team A is trying to go up and Team B is coming down, and Team A says, "Well, we're interested in your bid. How much would you pay us to go stay in League One?" And they have to say, "Here's our number," and you have a little back and forth, mostly because I think that'd be hilarious, especially if numbers ever became public.
Is
like Tormenta flees like New Mexico for like $8 million or something to stay up. Or, I mean, the only nightmare scenario with that is, let's say you have a team that doesn't want to go up. Like, let's say like Fuego wins, and they don't want to go up, and then you have a team that's like Loudon who wants to go down. It's like, well, hey man, have fun up there. It's like, well, you're gonna pay us? No. Bye. It's like, well, shit.
Well, I mean, hey, like right of first refusal. But okay, any pros or cons to it? That's what I have. Like,
you have too many teams.
No, did we just do drug deals for fucking soccer spots?
No, you didn't. Yeah. I did not do drug deals.
Yes.
Well, I think it's appropriate because I think there is an added financial burden of going up and a loss from going down. And if you can find a number in the middle that makes both sides happy with the result,
right?
It sucks for the fans because, like, would you imagine like your team winning the League One championship? But we are going up, and then like a week later, it's like, after financial days between Union Omaha and Loudon FC will be remaining in USL Championship, while Union Omaha will be returning to USL 1.
But I think
Loudon will be signing the 3 best players from Union Omaha and may look to have a strong campaign in the 2028 season.
But this is just me. I think fans will understand it. Like, I think fans would be like,
you're so optimistic about fans.
Have you met soccer fans?
I know. I'm not being optimistic, but I think the average fan that goes to games week in, week out kind of already has a good understanding of the finances of their team, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think like they will understand it. And then also to be like, yo, we just got like some more money in the coffers. Like we got an extra meal or whatever. But I mean also like Cal, like I think this kind of covers your thing about like some team owners being afraid of like, well, I can't cover it or cost and whatnot. Like I think like that kind of covers it. Like because say if you do win, well, if you don't want to go up,
sit on that money and not use it to go win again. Because then what happens if you take that money, you use it to go spend so that you can get more people in, so that they can like compete again to try to get to the next level, and then you still can't afford it because you took all that money that you just got from the first deal to get
But
to.
here's what I like about that plan, because I can see more often than not the promoted team still saying we're going to take that chance, because you don't know if you're going to get promoted again.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that's why I give them right of first refusal. Like so, it's
I
not
can
like the
see-
relegated teams be like, "Oh, here's a $500,000. We're just going to take your spot," because we know every team would.
Yeah.
That's why you give the promoted teams a chance.
Because
So,
my
like, because they can take that money and then, like, say if a promoted team gets promoted, right? Let's just.
But I
use
think it
those.
should be. I think it should just be a fixed cost. I don't think there should be negotiate. I think it should just be.
Yeah,
a
that's what I'm
fixed
saying. Like,
cost.
I think that's what I said. Like a quarter of the promotion fee or a half, whatever.
I would say. I would just say the full.
Probably okay.
I'd
So
say the
yeah,
full
say it's the
thing.
full thing, right? Say if NOCO gets promoted, right? And NOCO's like, well, we know we can't compete. Can you imagine NOCO taking like $1 million or so from like Loudon or someone else? Is they're keeping their spot, but NOCO using that $1 million to build out the rest of their stadium and to build infrastructure, to build an academy.
Yeah.
Like
So
it's almost like what Burnley did every time when they were kind of going up and down the Premier League. Like they wouldn't overinvest in their squad. They got promoted to the Premier League. They knew they were getting relegated in a year, but they would take that money and invest it into the rest of the stadium and the things around it.
Yeah.
That's the way I'm just thinking about it.
Yeah. So my kind of thought is the same as Yogi's, except for I have less teams. I have the champion of USL League One from the playoffs, and then whoever the dog shit team is in USLC or whatever the structure ends up being.
Okay.
Just because I think at the beginning you want to lessen the burden of it, and I think especially if you only have 16 teams, that's maybe a bit too much to go like up and down every single year. So I think you start with one, lessen the blow, and then you do something like every 5 years we reevaluate. And so like in 5 years maybe you go to
5
the
years
top-
is too long.
the top team goes up and then the bottom two have a playoff. But I think you do top and bottom and then you do a playoff, and then you make it semi-difficult to go up and down just because I think you want to protect those owners' interests. And then at a certain point, you're like, you've known this was happening. Like if you invested in dog shit players, you're going down. And I think that's not what I would want, but I think that's probably the most likely outcome of this, just because I think it protects owners' interests, which is ultimately the important thing here. Not from my perspective, but just from ownership perspective, it's probably protecting ownership value. It's like if you go down, you probably deserve to go down at a certain point.
So then, who's the Everton of this whole thing? They're the team that just won't go down no matter how much they try.
And you talking about between Championship and League One?
Sure.
One again, there's going to be a buffer somewhere, but
give me a
I'm
second. I'll give you that answer.
but
probably going to be like Rio Grande or El Paso. Or El Paso's good now all of a sudden.
Nah, you know who it's going to be? It's going to be Birmingham. It's going to be Birmingham. Like, they're just going to be that team stuck in the middle of the division. Like, Birmingham to me is that team that they can
Sorry,
beat
Taylor.
anyone, but they can lose to anyone.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they're just fine being in the middle. Like,
So I have a slightly different plan. I am taking out the payment and everything. You do, because right now there's 36 teams in USL Championship and League One, and that's not including Milwaukee, New Orleans, Santa Barbara, Iowa, Rhode Island, maybe Portland and Brooklyn. So it'll get to up to 40. You do top two, get promoted. Bottom two, get relegated. Third place in the league, so like third place in USL League One, plays third to last in USL Championship, for example, in a one-off playoff that is hosted by the lower tier team. So that's what you do, and that way it gives because the problem with most relegation, promotion relegation playoffs, is you do two legs. It's always most of the time favors it. But if you do a one-off, like winner takes all, and the team in the championship has to go on the road to fight for survival, I think that would be better. Plus, it brings in more gate revenue for that lower tier team.
okay, all right.
So that's what that would be my plan. That way it gives the lower tier team a chance. it gets them the extra revenue, and it balances it out a little bit more. Or you can do one team. You can do the top team automatically promoted. Bottom. I would still want to have 2 teams just so it's like give some incentive for, because it feels harsh to not, if you can't win a league, you don't get promoted. That feels harsh.
Okay.
Geo from Twitter. I know we kind of answered this, but Kyle wasn't
Geo
on.
that's doing it a little dirty.
Geo from Twitter.
Geo from Twitter. You're my
But
favorite.
he's got YouTube also watching this.
Yeah.
Geo was good.
If you could pick 2 League One teams to be automatically promoted to the new league, who would they be?
Like right now.
Yeah.
No going forward.
Fair.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Like, they're leading the league right now, so I mean, they deserve
Yeah,
it.
my only thing was, how would you determine who would go up? Are you going based off of just this year? Are you going based off of like over time, like a time period?
I think you just go based off of this year. Like
Then yeah, it would be no going forward. Then that would,
I think like if you try to go back in years, because
well, if you're going by
like, oh, we only played this game, and we only played that, and then you try to do the percentages, like it's never gonna.
Well, I was gonna say if you do historical, it would probably be like a Greenville, Omaha, Chattanooga would probably be the top 3 because they've been consistently, because like up until this year, Chattanooga has been one of the top half teams. Greenville and Omaha have consistently been one of the top 2 teams. If you're going off historical standard, but just the season, yeah, I would say no going forward. And then NCFC would be right there in that playoff game that they would against, who would it be?
The third worst team would be Miami.
Hartford. Oh, Miami, yeah.
It would be the
Miami.
Miami.
No.
So Miami would come to Raleigh, play in NCFC at their stadium, winner takes all.
Yeah, it would be Miami. I mean, which I don't know, man. That would be a good game to go see. I would favor NCFC in that game actually.
And that's like the incentive. That's why I wanted it, the lower tier team to host it, because it gives that extra. Maybe there could be an upset aspect of it.
Yeah.
Is it really an upset though if I finish 3rd in my league and you finish 3rd from the bottom in yours?
It depends. Like some years, the 3rd place team might just be ass.
Yeah. Like it's kind of like the same thing in the Bundesliga. Like I know Hertz didn't finish 3rd, but like if Hertz finished 3rd and they're playing like Kaiserslautern, like if Kaiserslautern beat Hertz, it's an upset just because of like the sheer size of the team like they're playing against and they beat.
Or even like if you do Premier League and Championship, like Football League Championship, you have Luton Town against Leicester.
Honestly, I'd favor Luton Town.
Right.
Would be okay. Taking out like it would still be considered an upset if like a Luton Town, like the club the size of Luton Town, is taking on an Everton, a Leicester.
Yeah. Let's see. Which USL Taylor from Twitter? Which USLC team do you want to see drop?
If I had my choice,
all of them.
If I had my choice, honestly, I'll go Indy 11.
Ooh.
I would go Indy 11. I think because I'm just looking at like in the top 5 teams from each side. I mean, the bottom 5 teams from each side. And I think you can form a nice little rivalry there between Indy, Madison, Omaha. Like, I think that would be solid. I think
12 hours away.
Oh yeah, no too.
It's really far. Midwest is big, buddy. I
That's
take
not
Des
for
Moines.
me.
I want Des Moines. Give me Des Moines.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Well, I mean,
this one's
not
gonna
all
be
Big
controversial.
Ten anyway.
Oakland.
You know what? Honestly, that's not a bad pick. That's not a bad pick. Now, the complaints about Oakland Field in USL League One would be elite.
It would be amazing.
It would be elite.
Kyle, do you want me to go ahead and type Detroit for you, or do you want to go ahead and say
absolutely not. I'd take Indy 11 in a heartbeat over Detroit. San Diego, because that'd be a good away day.
Yeah, I can see them coming down.
It would be. All of those are like elite, top tier ones. That would be so much fun.
But they're elite for different reasons.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Like
good
Indy
for
would be
different-
great because that is the shortest drive for me. Like out of all the teams, it would be the shortest drive for Madison. Would be Indy. San Diego is such a great time. You're telling me it's March and there's an away day in San Diego? Yeah, sign me up.
Like if I'm a Richmond fan, I'm thinking of this as a Richmond fan. Honestly, I would want Charleston back just because I think of Richmond. Like if you've never experienced it, I got to experience it twice. A Richmond Charleston game is elite. Like where both teams are going at it, it's nothing like it. I would love that to come back because I miss playing that game. But
The inverse, other than Detroit, is there a team that you would not want to drop down?
Damn
Other
it!
than
You
Detroit.
said not Detroit.
We all would have said Detroit.
no, I want to say I think Detroit would be different.
Is there a team we don't want to see drop down from championship?
Or a team
Las
you just wouldn't
Vegas.
want to see.
I don't want
Well,
to see Las Vegas. Yeah.
I wouldn't want to see the Rowdies drop.
I like their Rowdies.
Oh, okay. My fault. I misheard the question. I thought you said like they just would enjoy playing. My fault.
You can choose that.
I'd say Las Vegas though too. I don't want that Mickey Mouse shit down. We already have one Mickey Mouse club. We don't need to.
Hey, go lie, Kyle. They would definitely outdo y'all.
Yeah.
They
have
would
one
100% outdo y'all.
That's fine.
Until your cow goes out on the field and shits at midfield, you have nothing on Las Vegas. Okay.
It would be like anti. It would
One
just
team
be
would
like,
actually
this is how
try
you
and
do
play
fan
soccer.
engagement
The other
correct.
team would not.
This is how you do fan engagement wrong, and everything's wrong in Vegas.
Connor Kaola would just be just sitting at the whiteboard, just pits out, red eyes, be like, "Shit, guys, I can't believe it. They did 2-for-1 bobblehead night. Like, what are we gonna do next?" And it's like,
It's gonna be so bad. That would.
Um,
Oh
I
no.
wouldn't want to see Louisville drop.
What?
I wouldn't want to see Louisville. Yeah, I wouldn't want to see Louisville. Yeah.
I was gonna say Sacramento.
yeah.
Yeah, Sacramento's enough. I wouldn't want to see that.
That'd be wild. From going from this close to being MLS all the way down to League One would be.
Yeah.
Hey, that's literally what we did.
True.
Yeah.
It'd be a 35.
That is true. It would be wild. It would be wild. Yeah, it would be wild.
It hurts those first couple of years. I'm just saying. Just if you need the blueprint, I got you. I wrote it in blood on the stadium stands. Like I don't know. Man. Also, a good team that I don't want to see go down would honestly be because if they go down a league, they just go to MLS Next Pro. God damn, and that's Tacoma or the Seattle.
They're already at MLS Next Pro?
No,
Tacoma? I swear I thought they were at MLS Next Pro.
That's basically like Seattle's 2.
Yeah. They're in MLS Next Pro already.
they're
Basically.
not.
Yeah, they already are there.
Just for the stadium and the views, Pittsburgh. That'd be a fun one.
To not go down. Oh, they
Hey.
are. Damn, never mind.
Yeah, they're already there. In the
And I
inverse,
wouldn't
let me
be
ask
that
y'all
far.
this. Is there any MLS Next team that you think would jump over the USL?
If it got pro rel,
Yeah.
There's
All
no
of
other good ones
the-
left. Huntsville's a Nashville team.
Yeah. That's true. All right.
But I mean, they're
Oh,
getting
really?
like allegedly. Last I looked, they're hitting 5,000 people a game, which is absolutely bonkers.
Like maybe Rochester if they didn't con their way out of business a third time in history. Yeah.
if
Which
they
is so
weren't such a
funny.
shitty organization, Queensboro.
If that's
I
ever
don't know, are they still coming? Like, are we
No.
sure about them?
no.
Not happening.
You know what? That's another drug front. We sure David Villa just not El Chapo in disguise playing with soccer cleats?
I think Queensboro is essentially
Bro.
dead.
Yeah.
The NYCFC is building on their stadium site.
No, like that's not coming. I'm still not convinced Portland, Maine's coming. I'm still.
Bro, Portland called everyone. Portland sold merch.
Queensboro did too. Queensboro had a whole logo.
No, bro. Portland is worse.
Oh.
Portland sold merch. It literally had white soccer Twitter like supporting them to the ends of the earth with a promo video. It was like, yeah, we ain't coming. We ain't heard nothing about Portland Maine ever since, bro. Ever since.
Yeah, put that back up. As long as Ebony uses a steel guitar and a fiddle, I'm supportive of her country music career.
I will break out the guitar. I'm just kidding. I'm so
We
kidding.
can't have any of that Morgan Wallen shit, so.
Thank you.
Oh,
You didn't play Morgan Wallen. I'm kicking you out.
That's
where's
fair.
Portland? What the fuck y'all talking about?
Question for the group: what market do you think immediately jumps in if we get pro rel?
Outside of the ones that are already coming in?
All the USL2 markets that are on the fence right now.
Oh, I can tell you right now, 757, Virginia. The coast, Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Hampton. Oh, they coming. They coming.
Oh, so are we gonna get a Virginia league like we have a Carolina league?
Yeah, bro, we the ACC, SEC, Big Ten.
Ironically, Chicago.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Chicago House
I
coming.
can see
Like,
that's a
Chicago
good
House
shout.
coming. Chicago House is coming.
Yeah, I was gonna say them or Baltimore.
Yeah. Chicago, Baltimore, the 757.
Vermont's a good shout too. I think they could
Yeah.
do really well in League One and work their way up promotion.
I think you get a team in Missouri. I think you get another team in Missouri somewhere.
I think you get a Louisiana team.
Well, you already got New Orleans coming, so that's one.
Cleveland.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, Cleveland's one.
I don't think Cleveland does too well, but maybe that's just me.
Well,
Pro-Rel.
I think you get a Cleveland team
Yeah,
just
if
because.
Cleveland FC decided to jump up,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it would.
You know what? Honestly, Flint City. USL League
She's
I
Two.
can't act like I
blackest
know
places
how
in
they
America.
are. So.
This man really said that it's saving the hood. He went to listen to where he just named Cleveland. At that point, you could add another Detroit team if that's how you're gonna do it.
Michigan Stars, USL League One.
Hey, low key, they coming. They coming, low key.
I mean,
entertain
they're going
it.
to try.
Someone mentioned Boise earlier in some of the discourse, and honestly, that would do
I don't
numbers.
see Boise. I don't.
It would do numbers. I think it would do numbers.
I don't see Boise.
It would do all right. I
don't think Boise would. I would take another team in Oregon.
No, I'm not going that far.
Because they already have one. PDXFE. PDXFC.
That's what I'm saying.
In Eugene.
That's what I'm saying. I would take them.
Yeah, Lane and
yeah, but Boise's right there, so that rivalry would be
Spokane.
Yep.
There's gonna be a lot of PNW teams.
I'd like.
I mean, you can do Maryland Bobcats. You do.
That's why I said Baltimore.
Indianapolis. They got an NPSL.
Indianapolis, you have the Blue Crabs. 7,500 people last game.
Yeah. They just beat Grove United last night. I think they had.
I think 7,500 would be the highest ever crowd in USL League One.
Yeah.
I think Richmond at 6K is still the highest crowd we've ever had in the league.
Florida teams? Because you already got Miami, you got Tampa.
What Tampa?
Orlando's probably out.
Tampa Bay Rowdies.
Jacksonville, I guess.
Jacksonville's already coming in.
USLC.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
Orlando probably couldn't do a second team.
No.
Even if they did, it'd be pro.
Yeah, Tallahassee.
Tallahassee.
You're not moving off Florida State.
I'm really struggling coming up with more cities in Florida.
Yeah, I think
Florida's done.
If it's not, once you start getting to like the, what do you call it, military towns in Florida, you've gone too far.
Well, I was gonna say, how many people even live in Tallahassee? Tallahassee,
I don't know, not Tallahassee. No, I just.
Gainesville,
California, I think that
Can you
market.
imagine trying to play a game in Tallahassee in the summer?
196,000.
Yeah, that's-
Wow.
Gainesville,
You're gonna have swamp ass all over the place.
I don't think St. Augustine took moving the needle. I don't think.
I think Gio also said Asheville. Remember?
Yep.
They
North
wouldn't be
and
bad.
south.
I would like Asheville.
That would be
But
That
great.
would be a
Away
bad.
day.
The problem is I don't think they'll come in because they like the idea of promotion relegation, but then they don't actually get promoted to do anything. So
Does Appalachia FC have a lot of people come? Or is that's Boonesville, right?
that's
What
boom.
about
But it's the same thing.
New Jersey?
Oh, so do you mean Appalachia or do you mean like Asheville from League 2?
Asheville's like not a giant city, but it's probably, I think 250 is like the target League One or the bottom of the league.
Oh my god, yo! You know what I
Jersey.
thought about? We did not mention fucking Wilmington.
Yes.
But they're already coming in.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wilmington would be one. I don't know who you getting in Jersey, Kyle.
Central New Jersey.
That doesn't exist.
Real Central New Jersey.
You can put one in like Atlantic City or Newark. You can put one there.
Well, they already have a
Exactly.
women's team.
Right.
Isn't that
So-
that's the actual functioning Queensboro, right?
That's basically what Greensboro was hoping to be.
Yeah.
So you could put a men's team with that. Yeah.
You know what? Honestly, Syracuse. I think Flower City would come over.
Really?
As much as we hate it, I literally think they would come over.
I'd
Mm.
rather
I
just.
think they would.
Yeah. I guess.
So this was
Buffalo.
so since you mentioned Flower City, this was very much centered around like men's soccer. Where does the Super League and W League pyramid come from? Because that's only two,
Oh god.
right?
I think
Right
you
now
would
you're looking
get.
at a structured men's of four leagues up and down. Somewhat, we don't know what the structure looks like in terms of what do you call it?
I think
A
a
move,
lot. If you
right?
can put if you can put a second professional league for the women, I can see a lot of the ones that are currently in the W League move up.
Yeah. I think the W League will I can see Richmond. You could probably squeeze in an Atlanta or a Savannah team in there.
A Boston team.
Yeah. Probably a couple of Californias. Like honestly, I know Gio said it before. They say a St. Augustine team or a Tallahassee team can work in Florida.
So WPSL Pro, but they wouldn't. Would they absorb under the USL blanket to become?
That would be the tough part.
Because
I
right
think that
now
would help
you have D1 and a semi-professional.
Yeah, I think that would probably help. I think that
So-
would probably help.
There's
So-
too much.
I think with the women though, you could get you can get some markets like an Atlanta, like a Boston, I'm sure Chicago. I'm sure a lot of people would be able to jump ship to the Red Stars over to the new Chicago team. They have more
Oh, they're
confident
waiting
ownership.
for that day. Don't they have Edgewater out
Minnesota.
there?
Yeah,
I'm just saying, there's a lot of areas that could take that jump. Detroit City, if they want to have their women's team move up. Chattanooga, if they can afford to have their women's team move up. Like Chattanooga FC, I mean, not Red Bulls. Chattanooga FC.
So if they get bought, so let's say they do get bought out, they go into Division 2, and then do you make W League now your third division instead of semi-pro, so that you then get that pyramid built out a little bit more to go up and down?
probably so.
Yeah.
Probably so.
Mm.
I think with the
Almost
women's league,
have
I think
to.
there's a lot. It's not.
I think
hard.
because we haven't seen it yet, we don't know what that looks like for the women's side. Even though it should be like unilateral, like if you do it for the men, you could do it for the women. But because we haven't seen
Well, I think the other thing that helps the W League, I mean, that helps. I think the other thing, like the women's side of it, needs to work on is like getting a structure like TV deal in place. Because right now it's hard to watch games. I don't know if that's hindering or not, but
Well, the other thing I was going to say is there's so
like Charlie
many,
Davies.
Oh
there's
God.
so many WPSL teams. There's so many that you would have to almost make. You would have to make almost a second and third tier, and then W League could be that fourth / semi-pro.
So you're saying do the same thing that they were trying to do with in Chip's mind of split the championship into two, and that becomes your second and third instead of your first and second. And now we're building out what should be the same of 4 leagues up and down, and
Yeah,
it develops.
just with the amount of WPSL teams that are there, you could. I don't know how many of them are professional and stuff, but you could do that.
So yeah, so that's gonna be fun. All right, we're running very long. Chip, back to you, buddy. Sorry.
Well, I think this has been a really exciting conversation. I think it's obviously something people are interested in, something people are passionate about. If you're not listening live, let us know your comments on Twitter or Instagram. And yeah, it should be fun to follow. We'll keep you updated, and we'll be back next week with our normal content. Oh, God damn it, Kayla, we're trying to log off. So you saw... Yeah, we're not going to do that tonight. Anyways.
CBS, please just buy USL.
Yeah, someone get
Oh
better.
my God, bro!
Rates. That makes everything work if you have
I
media
mean,
rates.
honestly, yes, please, because
And then half the games could be on the Golazo Network, half the games could be on CBS Sports Network. Some games.
No,
could be
I
on
don't need more
CBS.
wrong takes from Charlie Davies. Please.
No.
We can exclude him.
Hire us.
Exactly.
Hire us.
You get a Golazo show.
I don't even need a Golazo show. Give me a 30-minute segment once a week. I promise I won't say no curse words on TV. I won't talk bad about white people. Sometimes. And I'll do my best. Just
You
hire
killed the deal right there. Like,
What? I like how he says hire him. It's like, don't bring the rest of us. Just hire
right.
him.
Don't
no,
forget-
I'm talking about. I'm saying like all of us.
No,
But
you said what you said.
I'm gonna be the main one. They're gonna be like, Elliot, you can't tweet about eating ass.
You're really calling yourself the main one.
I'm saying because I'm the one that's gonna be like, yo, I'm gonna be the reason why this deal falls through. Hal, you're a family man. You're fine. You got Woso, and you're the voice of the LGBTQ plus community. You're fine.
I don't want to be that. No, that's a lot of pressure.
Me, on the other hand,
I guess I just chop
send me
liver.
on send us on the college baby tour. Me, on the other hand, they'll be like, look,
Yes, I will.
we already
yeah.
got one black man on set, and he's stable. Elliot,
Where?
Kyle, he's not a black man. You know they hiring two
So
black
first
men
of
to be
all-
in the room at the same time.
So it's Chip. Chip is there for
He there for the taxes.
I'm here for diversity.
the diversity hire.
Chip is there for the diversity. Kyle's the stable family man.
Crazy, you think like I'm here for accounting. Like,
Yeah.
I'm doing accounting.
And you're the voice of the LGBT plus community. They need you. They need y'all. Me, on the other hand, woo, they're gonna have a couple of meetings with me. Like Elliot, like you can't tweet about that. You can't talk bad about white folk. You can't cuss out white folk. And I'm gonna be like,
So what you're saying is, so this is what I'm gathering. You are Micah Richards.
yeah.
Ooh.
In terms, and whoever is going to be the Jamie Carragher, one of us is going to be Thierry Henry, and then we have someone else be Kate Abdo. And I call dibs on that.
You called dibs on Kate Abdo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What, would you not?
Honestly, that's fair. She speaks
Yeah,
like
thank
18
you.
languages. I don't understand.
Look, I may only understand one, but I'll learn. I'll download Babbel. I'll download Duolingo. I'll download Mango. I'll learn all the languages.
Yeah. Just know when the show get canceled after the third week, they just put out a tweet of like, due to unnecessary language and Elliot calling white people cracker on TV, we have decided to place Walking 90 on hiatus.
As long as they're like the good crackers that like you get on a charcuterie board, we're fine. If I'm a saltine, I'm not down with that.
And that's how you bring it back to the baby shower outfit, Chip. Which we are going to get you that shirt. That's going to be your first shirt for the CBS show.
Please no. Anyways, I was trying to log in so I could stop the show, but for Walking 90, I'm Chip. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week, and as always, stay Walking 90.
Tip your strippers, everybody.